Welcome to PTS&Me. I'm your host, Brandon Langford, and today I will be talking about my experience and why I started this podcast. Hope you enjoy. And welcome to our very first episode of PTS&Me. Again, my name is Brandon Langford. I'll be your host. We're going to do things a little different for this very first podcast. I'm going to ask my wife, Sarah Langford, if she would interview me, so that way I'm not sitting here talking to you mindlessly for 15, 20 minutes. So Sarah, welcome.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to let you lead.
Okay.
You know everything about our story with PTSD, all the deployments, the anxiety, the stress, the TBIs. So just let's start there.
Okay. So first, I just want to say that I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you for starting this podcast and using your experiences to help others. I think it's part of a good healing process and something great to do. And I just wanted to first ask you, so that your listeners would know why you wanted to do this podcast. Like, what was your reasoning for wanting to do this?
So, as any retired SF guy does, he has to start a podcast.
Okay.
So I was thinking about something that would be relevant, something that I could actually speak to and be informative, have information that I could share, experiences to share. And what really stuck out to me the most was just my experience with PTSD, anxiety, 20-year military service. And I've spent the last 2 years in therapy, and I had an outlet to talk to somebody and express everything that was going on in my life. Now that I'm out, that's more or less gone. So I think this would be the perfect outlet to just share my experiences, to offer what little help I can, to have other people come on, share their experiences, because talking is therapeutic in and of itself.
Right.
I also want to have guests come on that are experts in their field, looking at different therapies, different medicines, different ways to handle stress and all the anxiety that goes along with it, as well as bringing in organizations that help out those that are struggling with PTSD and just exposing everybody to what's out there.
Mm-hmm. When do you think you found out or like fully understood and grasped that you had PTSD?
I would say it's probably different for everybody. For myself, I think it was just a gradual thing that you come home from a deployment and you're a little bit different. You come home from another one, you're a little bit different. And it's not until you really hit like a breaking point that you realize, holy crap, there's something wrong with me. And there's two things that stand out to me in my mind. The first was I was in Arlington, Virginia. I was at a bar with a buddy of mine, and we were having a good time. We went upstairs to like the top floor, and it was just super packed, bright lights, loud music. Everybody was talking. I couldn't focus. I couldn't enjoy myself. I was so overstimulated that I was just constantly looking around, constantly sizing everybody up, constantly looking for the exits. And I didn't feel right. I started to get, my breathing started getting shallow, started to feel like a heavy pressure in my chest. And I was like, I got to go. I can't do this. And I stepped outside and I called you, and I was just like, I can't breathe. I don't know what's going on with me, but I cannot be in this type of environment. So that was the first one. The second one was, it was a couple of years ago, and I kind of had like a breaking point where I was tired of feeling like I was tired of the anxiety all the time. Like I said, the pressure of like an elephant sitting on my chest and feeling like everything was revolving around me and I couldn't enjoy myself. And it was right before I was taking our oldest daughter to a daddy-daughter dance. And 2 weeks out, I was already in my head about, well, what am I going to wear? And what if I'm dancing and somebody's judging me? And you know, what do I do in this situation? And what do I do in that situation? And I'm getting myself anxious weeks before the event ever even took place, just because I knew I had to go into a social setting, and it was just very uncomfortable. So I went and I just asked somebody for help. I said, I'm tired of feeling this way. And I remember sitting in the doctor's office and I just broke down, because it's like, I want to be able to take my daughter someplace and the attention not turn back to me and it be about me. And looking back, I see that happen so many times now, where it's, as a family, we go to do something and then my anxiety kicks in and I'm like, nope, we're leaving. And that's not fair to you guys. It's not fair to me, but it's also not fair to you. Like, you and the kids shouldn't have to suffer because of what I'm going through. But at the same time, I shouldn't put myself through something that's creating anxiety and stress.
Well, and that kind of goes to like vacations. Vacations are meant to relax and enjoy. Is that why you think a lot of times you try and avoid vacations, because you're getting ready to put yourself in an unfamiliar environment, unfamiliar situation? Do you think part of like lack of enjoyment of relaxing is due to PTSD?
Yeah. I mean, I've never thought about it, but I don't know how to just be still. Don't get me wrong, I can be just as lazy as anybody else, if not more. But with that being said, it's the idea of not having anything to do. And I don't know that that's necessarily PTSD, like that's not a triggering event that's causing me this stress, reminding me of a deployment, but it goes back to, for 10 deployments, like so many years and days of constantly being in like high adrenaline situations and going outside the wire, being shot at, being blown up, all of those experiences where it's like every time we go to do something, there could be a negative consequence. So you come back here and it's like, okay, it's a normal life, let's go on vacation. And it's like, no, I just want to sit here where I know it's safe. I'm just kind of exploring that thought for the first time. I've never thought about it like that. But I know for me, I don't like not having a goal to work towards. And that might be something different, maybe not PTSD or anxiety related.
Mm-hmm.
But
I just didn't know if it was the idea of leaving home and going to an unfamiliar environment, if maybe that is something that could make it harder for maybe not just you, but other people as well to enjoy vacations, and it's not their safe space to.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
To go home. I remember the first time that I think I noticed it was when we were in Colorado, when we lived there at Fort Carson, and you came home from your first deployment, and we drove to the mall, and we started walking around the mall, and we weren't there 10 minutes. And you were like, we've got to leave. We've got to go home. And I was like, but we just got here. I just want to shop.
So in those types of situations, I've always related it back to when you're overseas and you're in a crowd, you are, whatever the situation, you are in control. You're walking around with a team. You guys are loaded up. You're looking for threats. You may be going out on whatever type of mission, but you're on alert, because if you drop your guard, somebody's going to take advantage of that. So when you're on that deployment, you're walking around, you're in control. If a vehicle's driving towards me and I don't like it, I stop it. And I have the ability and the capability to stop it. Same thing with a person. If something just doesn't look or feel right, we can search that individual to make sure everything is okay. But then when you come home, you can't do that in a mall. You're surrounded by people. Everybody looks shady. I recall sitting on benches in the mall. I still do it. You go into a store, I just sit on a bench and wait. But I'm constantly looking at every single person walking by and assessing whether or not this individual is a threat. And I think it was much worse years ago than it is now. I've gotten a little bit better about it. But I still hate being in large social environments where I have little, if no, control over what's taking place. Because now something inside of me is, I don't feel safe because I'm not in control.
Mm-hmm. What's an example of another environment or situation that you think that somebody that doesn't struggle with PTSD wouldn't understand why you can't handle that type of situation?
Family situations. That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Okay.
And I can't wait for my family to hear this because they'll hear it and they still won't understand. So that for the family situations, it just...
You mean extended family?
Extended family. Let me be very clear. I love my wife and kids and the time that we spend together. But it is the... and this, again, isn't a PTS situation per se, but it just goes back to going... I have a very large family for those that are listening. And so for a large gathering, we're talking 20 to 30 people, easy. I mean, shoot, my family, immediate family, has 7. So now multiply that with aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, parents, siblings. And now you're looking at a group of 20 to 30 individuals, and we're all going to get together at a restaurant. So again, it's loud, it's overstimulating. I have to put on this face that I'm happy to be there. And it's a chore. It's mentally taxing to go into an environment that you don't necessarily want to be in. And it's not that I don't love them. It's not that I don't want to spend time with them, but it's mentally draining to like go into a situation where you don't necessarily feel comfortable. And it's weird to say you don't feel comfortable around your family. That's not the case, but it's being in a large setting, again, with just so many people, so many variables, because it's like, I haven't seen all these people in, a year. And so everybody wants a hug. Everybody wants to know what you've been up to. Everybody wants to know where you've been, where you're going next. And it's overstimulating. And I'm trying to be nice and polite, but that in and of itself, it's like it feels fake. And so I don't ever want to feel fake. And it's just, I just choose not to do it most of the time.
Yeah. And it's hard because people paint this picture of how they think everything will be too. And so you sometimes probably feel like you have to meet this expectation.
I think a lot of times I'm still trying to be the person that I was when I left home 20 years ago.
Right.
That, they always, people outside the military, they would look at soldiers, if they really saw our sense of humor, it is dark and twisted, but that's what get us through the day. And it's like, to let your family in and see just how messed up your thought process and your humor and your language and your lifestyle truly is, especially my family, who is very large Southern Baptist pastors and church members. For the longest time, like, I still don't drink around my parents. And that's just because of my upbringing. So then when I go around them, it's like, okay, I got to watch my language. I got to watch my jokes. I'm pretty sure I told my dad a joke about a couple months ago when my grandfather passed away. I told him a joke at the funeral. I will not repeat it because I just remembered what it was. And he was appalled at the joke. And for me, that's every day. And
but yeah, they're remembering this young kid, and that's how they'll always remember you. And I think as parents too, we see that, like, our kids, no matter how old they get, they're still our kid. And so you kind of have that expectation. But for someone like you that's been to war and done things that most of us couldn't imagine, then, I mean, it completely changes who you are. And then you go back home to all these people that knew you from the time you were in diapers, and it's a completely different type of atmosphere.
I had a coaching call with someone last week, actually, and we were just talking about my military career and all the things that I've done. He's like, have you jumped out of planes? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, well, have you done this? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, man, you must be like a thrill seeker. You must just, you're constantly looking for like that next adrenaline rush. And I said, honestly, no. I said, I get where guys chase that. I could totally see it. Like, I enjoy riding motorcycles as long as nobody else is on the road with me. But it's that variable that makes it uncomfortable for me. And I told him, I said, I think I've actually taken the alternate approach, is that I did so many high adrenaline activities where there was always the threat of danger. That's what I associate it with now. So when there's a high impact moment, it's like my natural response is like, no, we need to be safe and secure, not let's go chase this thrill.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, once you came to terms with the fact you had PTSD, you got the help you needed. How are you handling it now and like being treated and moving forward?
It is still a struggle. It is not a one and done thing. So, like I said, I saw a therapist for 2 years. I've been on 2 different types of medication. I use what's called an alpha stem, where you connect it to your earlobes and you adjust the settings, and it kind of sends a little shock wave where it readjusts your alpha waves in your brain to kind of calm you and relax you. You and I specifically, we've been working on identifying moments where, hey, things are just getting a little bit out of control. My anxiety's starting to go up. And I'll just be like, I need a minute. And you'll give me 20, 30, 45 minutes to go into another room, to relax, decompress, do the alpha stem, read, focus on my breathing, and just try to get back to a baseline. And those are some things that have really helped me. I do think that there are some other great therapeutics out there that aren't available to service members. And that's some of the things that I want to dive into. I think CBD oil would be phenomenal. I've seen what it has done for you and your anxiety, and whether it's got THC in it or not, but just having something, a natural solution that you can take to kind of just mellow yourself out when you need it, rather than being on medicine every single day. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm knocking that, because I've been on medicine I'm still on medicine every single day, and it's working for me. But I want to explore solutions that allow me to be free from that if I choose to.
Right. And so going forward, do you plan to continue therapy, find another therapist? And now that you're in the retirement process, do you feel like you got a good foundation from the therapist you got? Like, what's your plan going forward?
I used to be anti-therapy. I am now pro-therapy. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a psychiatrist or a therapist, but some form of therapy for anybody to work through the issues that they're having, whether that is confiding in someone that they trust to get help. Not just, hey, I'm going to tell you a secret, please don't tell anybody, but hey, this is what's going on in my life. How can I get better? How can I fix this? That's key. I think I'm still going to dabble in therapy, but I think this is hopefully going to be therapy in and of itself. Being able to come onto a podcast, as much as I want to do it, to talk to other people that have similar experiences. Hey, what worked for you? This did, this didn't. Talking to people that are like, I'm not educated in this whatsoever, other than the fact that I suffer from it. Mm-hmm. So I want to bring the people on and ask the relevant questions that can help somebody. So I'm going to be doing that. And then, I'm still going to be looking at ways, whether it's, focused meditation breathing, where you're focusing on your breathing for 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, just taking a deep breath when that anxiety level starts to peak, and you take that deep breath and just that little bit more and hold it and just let it out. Like, that can lower your stress level. Mm-hmm. But you also have to realize what your triggers are. And if you can recognize your triggers and you see what's happening, you can control it a little bit more.
And sometimes people can't recognize those triggers. And that's why if there's a spouse involved, it's important that the spouse is aware. And that's why your therapist had me come into your session so that we could discuss ways, because we're a team and I'm going to be with you. She only saw you for an hour. here and there. And all of us as people, we just don't recognize when something triggers us, sometimes till it's too late.
Well, and there's so many different types of triggers as well. So, for me, it's a lot of social settings. It's a lot of times where I feel out of control, or that not out of control, but that I don't have the control. Loud noises, like sudden loud noises, that when somebody drops something and it's a loud pop. 4th of July, that's a trigger, but it's not a super trigger in the sense of I know it's coming. I can see it coming. But for some people, that's a huge trigger. Certain smells bring memories come flooding back. Certain songs, because in the late 2000s, every ODA was using the exact same song, Let the Bodies Hit the Floor, for every team video that they ever did. So there's certain songs that'll trigger like an experience and a memory. There's so many different ones. You can't even sit here and listen because it's different. Everybody's experience is different. Mine is going to be different from the next guy's. Even if we went through the same thing together, we're going to take something different away from that.
For this podcast and discussing PTSD, are you wanting people to reach out to you to be on it and part of it? And are you wanting only military or people that also suffer from PTSD, from other causes and things of that nature? What is the primary goal and focus, and who you would like to reach out to you?
The primary focus, from my perspective, is military and law enforcement, because that's what I can relate to. That's my experience. That's where I can easily have a conversation. But I would encourage anybody that has PTSD that would like to come on to have that conversation, to just get their voice out there, to know that somebody's listening to them. I don't care what your background is. I'd rather you come on and have that conversation with me than continue to hold it inside and it continue to grow and fester until it's too late.
Makes sense. Well, I look forward to hearing everybody that comes on your show.
At least I have one subscriber right here.
Yay.
But if you like the podcast, please subscribe. Check us out. I'll be dropping podcasts every couple of weeks. And then as it picks up, we'll be dropping more. Thank you very much, if I can talk. Once again, this is PTS&Me. My name is Brandon Langford, and I look forward to having more conversations with you. Thank you.